Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is the weekly Tottenham news review with me, Lee The Dorset Spur, here to talk about some of the stories that were broken over the last 7 days, give you my opinion on them and let you come back to me with what you think and whether you think I've seen these in the right way or I'm totally off track. Anyway, if you've seen my short video, you will know the first thing I wanted to talk about was the £11 million paid to Tottenham through breach of sponsorship by Enquiries. So Jim Ratcliffe having to spend out £11 million to avoid court proceedings over this failed sponsorship deal. Yeah, interesting and really good. Maybe adds a little bit more spice to the weekend. Maybe so Jim's going to be a little bit more edgy when he comes to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and has to face Viv and Vinay and a few of the other board members, having to kind of have his tail between his legs a little bit on that one maybe. Of course, like I said before, we've had a few bits and pieces going on off the field. Destiny Udogie being held hostage by an agent at gunpoint. That's really interesting story to be honest with you, but one we don't really know too much about, because obviously it's open to legal proceedings. So can't really talk about that too much. But it has been asked in Thomas Frank's press conference, and he has confirmed that the club are supporting Destiny during this time to make sure that he is okay, because it was a difficult ordeal to have to go through, understandably so. Getting back to on-field matters, of course, it's been a bit of an up and down week, hasn't it? So, of course, we don't really want to be talking about the Chelsea result and the Chelsea performance, because it's more about the Chelsea performance than it is about the scoreline. Any team can lose 1-0, give away 1 goal and so on and lose a game. That can happen, we know that. But the manner of the performance was the really concerning part of it. And the thing that fans were really raising their feelings about, you know, they're absolutely clear. Whilst we don't consider Chelsea to be our main rivals, there are lots of fans that consider them to be a massive rival, one that they really want to win. Chelsea hate us, absolutely know that, because I got some Chelsea family, got some Chelsea friends who really do dislike Tottenham in that way. Me personally, I find them a bit of an irrelevance, but I would want to beat them because it's 3 points in the bag, right? And they are a London rival and so on. But I don't consider them in the same way that I would Arsenal, for instance. But that's just me personally. I'm not a massive, don't have a massive issue with them. I still dislike losing, but then I dislike losing to Crystal Palace or Brentford or anyone else, you know, any other team. I don't like losing at all. But clearly, for a lot of fans and for the club to be performing against one of your local rivals should be up there. It should be one where you really are stepping up and taking it on board and really giving it the best that you can. And that clearly didn't happen. So obviously there was a lot of disappointment around that, a lot of concern and so on with the Bentancur / Polinia pivot getting the brunt of the criticism, and Thomas Frank as well getting a lot of criticism for being too defensive in those scenarios. So of course we then move on to Copenhagen, Champions League night, 49,000 people there to see it. Whilst that's still a low figure in terms of the stadium capacity, that's still 10,000 or so more people than we would have had at the old White Hart Lane, right? So let's get it into perspective. But you would have liked to have seen the stadium full under the lights and all the rest of it. And I am sure the pricing plays a part of that. For me personally, it's difficult living down in Dorset. It's very, very difficult to get up there to watch that game and get home again and take into account work, right? So essentially for us here, we leave probably around about midday, a bit later maybe. We don't get home till 2 o'clock in the morning. So you're missing half a day's work at the front end and potentially half a day's work at the back end. That's still a significant thing that you've kind of got to plan into your working life. And I'm sure lots and lots of fans are in the same situation, and we see that whenever teams play. You have to remember that supporters are not just round the corner anymore; they are spread across the country and indeed the world, and so it gets harder and harder to kind of maintain that, especially when you've got Chelsea at home, Copenhagen at home, and Man United at home within a week, and you've got to fit all that in and the cost of that as well. And bear in mind, this weekend it's a 12:30 kickoff as well, so for us it's going to be a very early get up in the morning to get there. No consideration for fans ever in terms of the fans that go to the games, is there? Hopefully the powers that be will take a look at that and look at the pricing to see whether they can squeeze another 10,000 people in at a cheaper rate that would still give them more money than they would have had by putting it in at the price they did with 50,000. You know, when you bear in mind the cost of something to eat, a couple of beers, all that kind of stuff within the stadium as well, that's significant revenue generation there, and hopefully the club will consider that for the next match and for the next round and so on, if we are able to get through. Anyway, moving on to the Copenhagen game. Great game, great result. I have to be honest, and I said this in my own channel when I reviewed the game. I did say that certainly for the first half, I was personally rather concerned. I felt that we were quite passive in that game. Of course, Copenhagen are going to come out and chase you and press you and all the rest of it and create those gaps. So we had to be patient in that game. We had to work at it. There was a stat at one point that they called out on the TV that said we had something like 70% possession and so on. Great, but that 70% possession was just around our own half, going into their half and back. You know, it just wasn't progressive enough in my view, and I was getting frustrated. There was a lot of backward passing and stuff, and not a lot of movement from the players, which was really concerning. Of course, we then saw Xavi Simons put in this beautiful pass to Brennan Johnson, who, you know, whatever we say about Brennan Johnson, top goal scorer last season, can score a goal, can take a player on. I wish he'd do it more, but he bombed it down the wing, took the defender on, then took it round the goalkeeper. At that point, I thought to myself, he's messed this up now. He's messed this up. But cool as a cucumber, he played that ball right into the far corner to score his first Champions League goal. And of course, then you start to relax. You think, right, that's it. They've got to come out at us a bit more. We need to get on the front foot. But again, we were still rather passive, rather slow, and that kind of built. So I'll be honest, I didn't feel like the hype after the game was fully deserved. Of course, there were some magical moments in it. When you look at the performance of Kolo Muani, who was unlucky not to get on the score sheet. There was a beautiful ball played in again by Xavi Simons, where Kolo Muani really should have done better, headed it over the bar, miles over the bar, where he should have really hit the target with that. But overall, I thought his play was very good. His link-up was a lot better. His running was very good. And that's what led to the second goal, putting the keeper under pressure. How many times do we say that? You've got to chase the ball down. Gets the ricochet, flies high up in the air, but chases it down. I thought it was a lost cause. Clearly wasn't. took the ball out of the air and had the presence of mind to wait and play that ball into the oncoming Odebear to bury in the back of the net, give us the 2-goal cushion, and then you start to breathe and believe that you're in the ascendancy. So great play from him, with some really good effort. Of course, just before that, we'd seen the sending off of Brennan Johnson, who has got the first goal, and I felt again that was really, really unlucky. He shouldn't have made the challenge, right? He dives in, trying to make the challenge. He slides around, his foot hits the floor, he goes up and catches the back of the guy's leg. As soon as they send him over to the TV, you know that they're going to say he's going to go. For me, really, really soft. Very, very unlucky for him to get sent off like that. But it happens in football. Now we can sit back and go, oh, that's okay. Had we lost that game, then I'd have been absolutely raging, because it's just, like, for me, it just was not deserved. But we can look back at it now and go, okay, doesn't matter. We won the game. We can't not talk about Mickey van der Ven's goal. Fantastic goal, on par with Sonny's one against Burnley. Runs the length of the pitch, takes a few players out just with his pace, skips past a couple, and fires that ball in from outside the box. Brilliantly taken. Had that ball been played to him cross-field in that position and he'd scored from there, you'd have said it was a great goal. So to score it after running 80 yards down the pitch, that takes some doing. And he said in himself in these interviews that he thought, well, let's see if they can keep up. And clearly they couldn't. And if you watch the video, there's a close-up video of the defender chasing him back. You can see the pain on the man's face as he's trying to keep up. And Mickey van der Ven he's just in the zone. He's just doing it. Looked like he was barely breaking a sweat as he was firing up that side. But again, the third goal, absolutely sublime. And he still was able to run across the pitch and knee slide to the fans. So he still had a fair amount of energy. And of course, Vicario's hamstring injury was magically improved as he ran up the pitch to join in the celebration, because it was that good. So of course, you've got to be happy with that. We move on. We get the fourth goal. This one coming from Romero. So both of our centre backs getting involved in the goals, getting an assist for Polina to get the fourth goal. Great to see him scoring again. Coming under a little bit of criticism. I saw there was some stuff from Jamie Carragher about how he's not very good, but actually I think he's great and exactly what Spurs need. Maybe not sitting there with Bentancur and being too defensive, but certainly protecting our defence and still being able to score goals says to me that he's got something about him and he's the sort of player we need. So I was really happy with that. The one negative that we of course have to talk about is the fact that Dane Scarlett came on, gets himself a penalty, but doesn't get the opportunity to take it. Now, I get it. He's a young guy. He's just won the penalty. It's his first Champions League opportunity to score and so on. He really wants to take that. But there is a pecking order, and Richarlison is the main striker on the pitch at the time. So, of course, he was always going to take it. With hindsight, you look at it now and go, that was not the right decision because you missed the penalty. But at the time, you're thinking, well, it makes sense. There is no, you shouldn't really be too sensitive to that. You can't be soppy around these things. If he'd have put it in the back of the net, 5 goals, we would have been ecstatic, and that would have given Richarlison some confidence because he desperately needs it after his great start to the season. He's gone off a cliff. And so it was really, really disappointing to see him miss that, hit the crossbar. But for me, it comes back to the same old thing with these stupid run-ups. They should absolutely stop it. You shouldn't be able to run up like a pigeon and doing baby steps and all that sort of stuff. A penalty's a penalty. You stand at the edge of the box. The keeper's in his position. You run up, you lever it, and you get it into the top corner, the bottom corner, but in the corner somewhere, and you stop the keeper getting the ball. You hit it with power, you hit it with pace, the keeper can't do anything, even if they get down to it. So, Richarlison, I'm sorry, but that was an absolute awful penalty, and really, really gutted that you did that. And I'm sure that had Dane Scarlett taken it, he certainly would have done that sort of run up for sure. So anyway, but that's by the by, to be honest with you. So of course now we're moving on to the weekend. Up next is Manchester United. Now we have a hoodoo over them. We've beaten them lots and lots of times. Biggest concern is we are at home. We've got a poor record at home currently. That's got to change. Hopefully, it changes at the weekend, and the change is a positive for us to win rather than the hoodoo to be broken with Man United winning the game. Given that we've had the good performance against Copenhagen, you want to think that you've got some confidence going into this. But it is A, early kickoff, B, before the international break, and we know that has been a problem for us. So you just never know. You look at these games, we didn't, let's be honest with ourselves. When you look at these games and you see some of the results, you think to yourself, how did they get that result? West Ham beating Newcastle. What? You're not expecting that. So, Karabag drawing with Chelsea, not expecting that. So, but it just shows the levels in which you're playing at, that anything can happen in any game these days. So, fingers crossed that Spurs can get the right result this weekend. Looks like Mohamed Kudus is out, but we'll see. It says touch and go. So it'll be interesting to see whether he does make it or he doesn't, because he's been our go-to player. So that's one we've got to worry about. But Romero, Udogie, both in no issues from playing on Tuesday. So defensively, we should still be able to field our strongest defence. Polinia is okay, Bentancur's okay, Xavi's okay. We've got Sarr. Of course, Bergvall will still be out because of the 2 matches due to concussion injury, so he won't be playing as far as I understand it. So yeah, I think it'll be a fairly familiar lineup going into it. I did watch Thomas Frank's presser, and the one thing that I've kind of taken out of that, apart from the issue around Kudus, is him talking about Dane Scarlett. Seems like he's a fan, thinks he's good finisher, left foot, right foot, and so on. Needs to play games, needs to be getting a run of games, but that's difficult to do, apparently. For me personally, I don't think it's difficult to do. I think you use Kolo Muani as your main striker, and then you use Dane Scarlett as his backup. I don't think Richarlison's got it. I don't think he's going to get any better. I think he had that early purple patch, but I just don't see him longer term being the man for us. So I do think there is opportunity for Dane Scarlett to get involved. He is 21 or something like that, so in the same sort of age group as the other players that he's playing that are in this squad. So that's not really an excuse in my view. The issue is he good enough? And a lot of other fans have said he's not good enough, and hence why he doesn't get played. But the other thing that kind of struck me with that conversation about needing game time suggests to me that if he can't get it at Tottenham, then he's going out on loan to kind of give him something. For me, I just think he needs a really good loan. He needs to go somewhere that really needs him, that's going to use him and give him that experience. Because if he's going to go off like some of the others are and sit on the bench or not get played, for me it's a pointless exercise. He might as well just sit with Tottenham and not get played. So yeah, but that was the other thing I kind of picked out of that conversation and that press conference. But yeah, apart from that, I think Frank has been under a little bit of pressure. Lose this game before the international break, I think those concerns will resurface. If we don't put in a decent performance then I think again that kind of discussion starts. But I think we're not far away now from January. We should be starting to make plans. We know where we've got some shortfalls. We still need a left back. Still not convinced that Odebear or Tell are the replacements for Son on that left hand side. I think we probably need somewhere stronger than that, and we definitely need an out striker of some level of quality, because we've continuously been told that Solanke is likely to come back soon. International break never happened. Had to have surgery. Yeah, it's only a small one. That went on. Be okay after the international break, and now this international break we're being told that's the crunch point to know one way or the other what's going on. So it still feels to me like they are not confident that Solanke is going to come back after this international break, which kind of a couple of weeks ago seemed like they were saying that he would definitely be back, and that kind of the goalposts keep getting moved. So it's all unclear with Solanke. So for me, I think we need someone better than Richarlison, who is going to come in and be either the starter ahead of Moani or the backup to Moani, depending on who's scoring the goals the most. Certainly if it's not going to be Dane Scarlett, which it doesn't sound like it is. So that's there's some work to do come January. We know that there's some issues in there, and this squad will still need development. But it's an ongoing process. You cannot afford not to have any kind of toes in any kind of markets at any window. So, yeah, food for thought, I guess. Anyway, listen, I've rambled on for a very long time. Thank you for watching. If you've stuck with us all the way through this sort of 20+ minute video, appreciate your attention and support. Please do hit the like if you think this is a good video. Please do comment if you've got anything you want to challenge me on what I've said today. Even if that's if you disagree or agree, it'd be good to know one way or the other. Please do consider signing up as a subscription to Chris's channel. Doesn't cost you anything. I've said it so many times. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to the channel, but it means a lot to Chris. It helps all the algorithms, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, please do think about doing that. But thanks for watching, as always, and I'll see you on the next one. Up the Spurs.